months, our guest speaker is already well known in the Mayport community. As the Commander Destroyer Squadron 8 and as the Commander Naval Surface Group Mayport, he is directly involved in almost every aspect of waterfront activities in the Mayport Basin. In so many ways, he or his staff touch our hearts daily. May I present Commodore Kelly Spears.
Former commanding officers of USS Dale, fellow captains, fellow commanding officers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, past and present officers and men of the USS Dale. I think it is appropriate, and it is in many ceremonies like this, when you have such an absolutely gorgeous day, that we comment and congratulate chaplains and the weather guessers for bringing us this sort of weather. It's particularly appropriate today because as we were getting our 6 to 10 inches of rain a couple of days ago, I called Commander John Pick and I said, "John, how do you decommission a ship in an auditorium or a foul weather parade?" He said, "Commodore, if it rains, we just get wet. You don't be able to do that." So we owe a tip of the hat to these guys for this beautiful weather today. We are today witnesses to the end of an era. With the decommissioning of USS Dale and the decommissioning of her Charleston sister ship, the Richmond K. Turner, in the next couple of months, our Navy will have retired the last of the 1960s Vietnam-era combatants and the last of the steam propulsion cruisers, destroyers, and frigates. Gone will be the Adams-class DDG, Koontz-class DLG, the Brooke-class DEG, 1052-class frigate, and now the Leahy-class cruiser. Take a moment, if you will, and look closely at this warship behind me. Notice the clean, sleek lines, the beauty of the design. Note the twin stacks that have belched the smoke of the 1,200-pound boilers and have propelled this great ship around the world and into literally every ocean of the world. Take a look at the twin missile launchers, both fore and aft, that up until a couple of months ago could intercept a target at over 100 miles. Then look at her masts, where the air search and surface search radars once rotated, reaching out to locate both friend and foe. When you take it all in, you will realize the magnificence of this great ship and the extraordinary capability she has provided the United States Navy for these 31 some odd years. Then look to the life of the ship, the men who man the rails. It is these men and the thousands who have gone before them that have breathed the lifeblood into this ship and built the extraordinary reputation that we're here to honor today. It is men like these before you and their past shipmates, many who have joined us today from all over the world, that have sailed her countless miles, many into harm's way. Such has been the history of the USS Dale, responding to crisis after crisis around the world. In the first 5 years after her commissioning, she completed 5 deployments to Vietnam and the Gulf of Tonkin. October 1973 found Dale in the Mediterranean, augmenting 6 fleet assets during the Arab-Israeli War. Between 1975 and 1985, Dale completed deployments to the North Atlantic, the Mediterranean, and the Black Sea, and the Indian Ocean. In 1986, Dale once again deployed to the Mediterranean and received the Navy Unit Commendation Medal for operations off the coast of Libya during the retaliatory strikes against Muammar Gaddafi. In 1989, Dale deployed to the Indian Ocean and the Western Pacific and was emergency sortie to the Persian Gulf to support the U.S. presence there after the hanging of Marine Lieutenant Colonel Higgins in Beirut. As a member of the Forrestal Battle Group in May of 1991, Dale deployed to the Red Sea as a unit of the maritime interdiction operations against Iraq as part of Desert Storm. Post-Desert Storm, Dale returned to the counter-narcotics operations in the Caribbean before being called on to make one last and one unscheduled deployment to the Adriatic in support of Operation Sharp Guard and Operation Deny Flight. This is the multinational enforcement of the United Nations embargo against the former Republic of Yugoslavia. Whether off Vietnam in the 60s or off Yugoslavia in the 90s, for over 3 decades, this ship has been there when her country needed her. She's sailed the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Arctic, and the Indian Oceans, the Caribbean, Mediterranean, the Adriatic, the Baltic, the Red, and the Black Seas, the Gulf of Sidra, the Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Oman, and the Gulf of Tonkin. Around the world, she has been an instrument of national power, a symbol of American resolve, and a formidable adversary. She has won campaign ribbons for Vietnam service, Navy Expeditionary Medals for Libyan and Indian Ocean Ops, the Southwest Asia Service Medal for Operation Desert Storm, and the Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal. Her crews have earned the Meritorious Unit Commendation, the Navy Unit Commendation, the Joint Meritorious Unit over 10 battle efficiency E's. This is truly a great ship that has served in the highest traditions of the naval service. Unfortunately, today we must say goodbye to this impressive man of war. And until there is a sixth Dale Commission in the United States Navy, we must remember with fondness and pride the great accomplishments of this ship and her crew. Before I say a few words about the current and the final crew of this noble ship, I would also like to share a message, actually it was a letter, from the commander of the Naval Service Force, Atlantic Fleet. So, dear Commander Pick, on the occasion of the decommissioning of USS Dale, please pass to your fine crew and former crew members a well-earned salute from the Atlantic Fleet Naval Surface Force. Dale has served our nation and our Navy with distinction for over 31 years. A decommissioning can be a sad time for shipmates as they reminisce over their ship's tradition and service. Dale, however, will live in spirit. The ship and the crew have their own history as a part of a larger world. Served in Dale belongs the credit of true and faithful service that established the proud reputation of the guided missile cruiser Dale. Sincerely, Vice Admiral Doug Katz, United States Navy. Those who stand around us and are manning the rails have been the heart and the soul of this exceptional man of war. Regardless of the technology and the hardware that is within the skin of a warship, it's the officers and the crew that make the difference. Commander John Pick, who by the way is a captain selectee, and his highly motivated officers and crew have made that difference. Tremendous leadership from the commanding officer down to the newest third-class petty officer has enabled Dale to achieve superior results in every endeavor. They have earned praise and recognition from all echelons of command. Dale has performed with flair and distinction, accomplishing all missions with outstanding results. She is absolutely the premier ship in her class. 30 years ago, Dale departed on her maiden voyage. The waterfront, the talk of the basin, with regards to her awesome capabilities and her very impressive crew performance. Those of us in the Navy are not surprised that on her initial voyage, her crew was praised and had done a wonderful job, because everybody in the Navy knows that pre-commissioning crews are hand-picked, as are their wardroom. They get the best of the best. The surprise came 3 decades later, when during Dale's last deployment, she was just as impressive as she was during her first. And in my opinion, maybe a little better. During her twilight deployment, Dale received accolades from every operational commander. Whether flagship for the standing NATO forces Atlantic or performing duties as Red Crown in the Adriatic, this ship continued to perform magnificently. Dale has done it all and has done it with style each and every time. Commander John Pick has been the right man for the job. His sustained superior performance in all aspects of command has been an absolute pleasure for me to observe. John, I commend you on a job extremely well done. Congratulations to the super officers and the super crew, the final crew of the USS Dale, the commanding officers and the crews that have gone before them. Mayport, the Navy, and the free world indeed will miss the mighty Dale. May God bless you all, and God bless America. Thank you. Captain Pick, will you join me at the lectern, please?
Ship's company, attention. President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Legion of Merit to Commander John E. Pick, Jr., United States Navy, for services set forth in the following citation. For exceptionally meritorious service as Commanding Officer, USS DALE CG 19, from March 1993 through September 1994. An extraordinarily dynamic and resourceful leader, material manager, and tactician, Commander Pick led USS DALE to an unparalleled and enviable record of success in operations and battle readiness. During his command tour, DALE completed an outstanding and successful deployment to the Adriatic Sea, operating with multinational NATO forces in support of Operation Sharp Guard and Operation Deny Flight. Prior to the deployment, he skillfully led DALE through a myriad of inspections and certifications, achieving outstanding results at every challenge. Additionally, USS DALE was awarded the coveted Battle E and swept all warfare awards for her class. For these accomplishments and many more, USS DALE has won the praise and accolades from the upper echelons of the Navy, including the Chief of Naval Operations, Commander-in-Chief U.S. Naval Forces Europe, Commander Naval Surface Force U.S. Atlantic Fleet, Commander 6th Fleet, and Commander Cruiser Destroyer Group 12. By his outstanding leadership, judgment, personal example, and inspirational devotion to duty, Commander Pick reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. For the President, signed John H. Dalton, Secretary of the Navy.
I've got it far enough over that,
Ship's Company, parade, rest.
Rear Admiral Bowman, Mrs. Wright, previous commanding officers of USS DALE, former DALE crew members, distinguished guests, officers, men, and families of DALE. I would like to talk for the next few minutes not about the decommissioning of this great ship, but about the men you see manning her rails and who are the last crew of this ship. For the last 18 months, I have had the distinguished honor to have been their commanding officer, and I feel it has given me a unique perspective, albeit slightly biased, to reflect and expound on their many accomplishments. In the last 2 years of operational service, this ship and this crew have personally felt the many hardships and sacrifices as we have required as we have reduced the active force, decommissioned ships, and our Navy right sizes for the future. In those 24 months, this crew spent 474 days out of home port, 271 in the last 12 months. They conducted a 4-month DPMA in Norfolk. They were underway for 2 counter-drug mini deployments, 3 fleet exercises, and a full 6-month deployment to the Adriatic. In those 2 years, the 30-plus-year-old 1,200-pound steam engineering plant was lit off for over 500 days. The ship never missed and was never late for a commitment. In between those underway periods, they trained long, endless hours to pass the myriad of inspections that kept them ready to meet every operational commitment. Along the way, they achieved a grade of excellent in the operational propulsive plant examination, aced the logistics management 3M inspection with the highest grades ever seen in Mayport, and missed an excellent in the combat systems assessment by a scant 1 point. Additionally, for the 2nd consecutive cycle, they won all missionary awards and were awarded their 2nd consecutive Battle E. But these were not their greatest achievements, but rather means to an end. For these 2 years, they kept this ship in top peak material condition and operational readiness. They did so despite her age, a paucity of money, or the non-availability of supply parts. They learned self-sufficiency